In this video, we're going to look at building settings pages for plugins. Now, this is really handy, and often when you build a plugin, you'll need to have a page where somebody can edit the settings or configurations for it. So let's jump in and look at an example of how we could do this. Now, we're going to start off here by looking at our settings page plugin. We'll just go ahead and activate that, and as soon as we do, we see a new menu pop up, plugin menu down here, which we can click into, and it just has some static content. So let's take a look at how this works, and then as we go from here, we'll look at what we could add to this page to make it more interactive. So if we come into our example, we can see we have the header as we would expect. Again, we've pointed out that this is just to point out that if this file is tried to open directly and not correctly with the user permissions or through the right clicks, that they will be exited out of. So then we have something, we're setting up our own custom function using this method called using a function called add menu page. So this is WordPress, and then we're going to be hooking into the admin menu. Again, so this configuration is something that we should be familiar with. We have an add action hook called admin menu, which is going to get called whenever the admin menu is built. So when that happens, we're going to call our own custom function, WP plugin settings page, and you might name it something else, change this to be appropriate for what you're building. And then inside of there is where we will add our menu page. And we're doing this approach because we may actually need to add multiple menu pages as we go along. All right, now this takes a number of parameters. The first one is the name of the page itself. So if we go into the admin area, we could see plugin name up here. This is a dynamic piece of information that we could get based on the name of the plugin. So that is just going to be the name of the page that we could grab. The next option down is what we want to appear in the menu. So I'm calling this plugin menu, but if we had a really long name here, then we probably wouldn't want that to be in the menu because it wouldn't show up completely. So this is going to be abbreviated, what you want to show up in the menu itself. Manage options is going to be the most typical user role or capability that you want them to have, just making sure that they do have the ability to edit options for a plugin before they could view this page. Otherwise, this will not show up for people. So the add menu page has this option here where if they don't have the correct capabilities, and manage options is going to be the most common one. Now, the next thing we have is this slug for the URL. So this is what appears right up here. We can see we're in the admin.php page equals WP plugin. And this is going to be how the page slugs work. And you want to pick something that is unique to your plugin, but not too long. But honestly, it shouldn't matter too much because nobody's going to type in that URL directly. It is, though, something that we have to customize and set specifically. Then we have what's called a callback function, and this is going to be executed to add the actual content to the page. So here we have an H1 and we have a paragraph tag. It's inside of that callback function that we actually echo out what we want to be on the page. So it might seem like a few extra steps, but really just when we add the menu item, it's going to create the page, but it's not going to know what to do on the page itself, and that's where that callback function comes in. So we'll look at this callback function in a moment and look at how it works, but the next thing I just want to point out is the icon that you use. And in this case, I'm using a dash icon. You can put a URL to your own link or your own SVG or something like that, but dash icons are an easy way to go. And again, dash icons are little icons that are built into WordPress, so you could easily use them in a lot of different ways, and you just have to copy this here once you find the one that you want. So I'm using one of the WordPress logos. So that is how we get this icon to appear here. Again, you could create your own custom ones, but an easy way to use or an easy way to do it is just use the dash icons when you're playing around in this case. And then finally, we have the priority or the order. So if we change this, then notice that our plugin menu will move around. So if we want to have it in a certain place, you could play with the different priority settings. And in our case, we're just going to leave it at 100. Since that will put it down closer to the bottom, but if somebody else has a larger number, then it might change as well. So you don't always know what they're going to have everywhere, but this can give you a rough idea of where you want to place it. So all of this on its own will go ahead and create a menu page. That's all the code that you need. However, now we need to look at this callback function a little bit more. So what we're doing is we're just going to double check first the correct user capabilities. Remember how we said that if they don't have options or manage options, which is the ability to manage plugin settings, then this page shouldn't even load. we're just going to do a quick double check, and if they can't do that, then we'll exit out. This is a general good security practice, but not completely necessary. Then notice we do something really important. We close out the PHP and we write just straight HTML. Now down the road, we'll look at how we could pull this out and put it in its own template so it's a little bit cleaner. But when we're just starting, basically this function is going to, inside of it, break out of PHP, just display a bunch of HTML, and then close back up. So we could put whatever we want here. It's common to use the class wrap since that is what WordPress uses for its admin areas. And then we're just doing an H1 where we're grabbing get admin title page, which is going to give us this. So that's a new function you're learning here. And that will get us the title. And then we're just going to escape out some content as well. So we should do WP plugin. So it is translatable. Okay. But that at a very short level will give us what we want. And we will expand this out further as we go. And we'll also learn how to extract it out into a template file that looks a little bit cleaner than this, because honestly, at a certain point, your function or your main plugin file is going to get a little cluttered. But this shows us at a basic level how we could hook into making a page. So now at this point, try to do this process on your own. Try to call the add menu page, play around with these different options, hook your function into admin menu, and then create a callback function that will display some markup on the page. So that takes us through making a basic plugin page, and what we'll look at next is how we could create sub pages to go underneath our main page or put in other places within the admin area.